President Trump now claiming his tweet that former President Obama did order a wiretap of Trump Tower is turning out to be true. Here's the story. Here's what's going on. No FISA warrant was ever authorized to do surveillance on Trump and his team. That's according to the FBI and intelligence officials. Keeping intelligence in the dark may be the story here about possible sabotage of Trump. This could be a constitutional crisis. Basic constitutional rights at stake. Privacy, your Fourth Amendment right of due process, search and seizure. The question is this a crime? Let's bring in former Republican presidential candidate. He is Dr. Ron Paul. Dr. Ron Paul, thank you so much for coming up. So Susan Rice initially denying it, saying she knows nothing about it. Surprised at Devin Nunes, the report. But if it was okay and in accordance with the law, then why initially deny it?
Well, that's the whole problem. The law is confusing, and I think they should obey the higher order of the law, and that is the Constitution. We wouldn't be collecting these massive numbers of records, and then they're shocked. I'm shocked that politicians might use these things. So I think that's what happened. But even the rules that were designed to keep individuals from doing this, they're not supposed to get caught, but they have gotten caught. And I think their strategy worked for a while. I think the Democrats had on to something about, well, we're going to concentrate on Russia and put the Republicans on the defensive because they knew a lot of Republicans would go after the Russians as well. So that was going on at the same time. They were not being, nobody was paying attention to what they were really doing. Now it's quite a bit different. It's a different ball game right now. But I quite frankly believe the collection of this data is part of the problem, and Republicans and Democrats are responsible for all these laws.
Yeah, talking to foreigners doesn't wipe out your Fourth Amendment or your First Amendment or any constitutional right. But, you know, the Democrats, let's get to your point about the rules. Democrats argue what Susan Rice did was within her purview as the National Security Advisor. But it misses the point that Susan Rice herself defines the rules of the game. She defines what's foreign intelligence, what that is. She's setting the rules for the game she's playing, right? And it looks like it wasn't just incidental picking up of names, as she said. It looks purposeful, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's too arbitrary. Laws should be much clearer than that. So she can have political excuses, and she doesn't even have to admit them. She can just do that. But I still think that even though she's arguing that, it doesn't look good for her. It looks like there's going to be some problems. And this suggestion that they need a lot more information before they start quizzing her in a Senate or a House hearing, I would think that they have enough reason, as time goes on, they will have enough reason to get her before a committee and see what she says under oath.
Yeah, Dr. Paul, the irony is, and you've talked about this too, that the Democrats and the Obama team were eavesdropping. That's what Ed Snowden warned about with the NSA metadata. And Susan Rice is corroborating a report that the pace of the surveillance and the exposure of the Trump teammates accelerated as the presidential race went on. Let's listen to what Susan Rice said earlier today.
Did the pace of unmasking requests, of your unmasking requests, accelerate toward the end of the White House tenure?
And I can't say the pace of unmasking requests would accelerate, but if you're asking were there more reports provided to senior U.S. officials after the president requested the compilation of the intelligence, which was ultimately provided in January, yes. I don't have a particular recollection of doing that more frequently after the election, for example, than doing so before.
All right, so the pace picked up. What do you think?
Well, it sounds like, and I think she said the president made the request, and I'm assuming that she's talking about Obama. So that just raises even more suspicion. You know, these things, it's not unusual for these to get very complex. He said, she said, and one side argues the other, and there's complexity and many agencies involved. But, you know, if you're looking for the truth of things, I personally have come to the conclusion that if you hear Edward Snowden or Julian Assange tell us something that they want us to reveal the truth, I think they're going to get much closer to the truth than some of this. But hopefully, you know, that some of this will be neutralized by further digging into, you know, Susan Rice, because it sounds to me like she could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, this feels like a constitutional crisis, taking the names, unmasking the names, request that they be revealed, and then spreading the names and the conversation around 16 or 17 intelligence agencies. I mean, this is a real constitutional crisis here about citizens' civil liberties and rights, right?
Absolutely. The biggest question, though, and has already been rumored, on the internet, well, don't worry about it. Susan Rice, she doesn't need to worry really about the law coming down on her because she's part of the deep state. Somebody will protect her, and there will be a technicality, and you're not going to see any real, attacks on her. But I do think politically there will be. I think this is going to continue because the Republicans have been on the receiving end, over the Russian deal, and that now will go on the back burner. Before it was everything Russia's fault and all this, and like I said, the Republicans sort of didn't care about that, even if it might have been fake news. Yeah. But now it's a different story, yeah. And I think the Republicans have the upper hand. The American people and their safety and security and their civil liberties, I don't think we're a lot safer.
Yeah, I hear you, Dr. Paul. And just for the record, I think you say yes, probe Russian meddling as well. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.